All right. All right. So this is Mind the Mental Monday. As a reminder, I am Reverend Benita Weathers, and I started Mind the Mental Mondays because, as I say every week, while I am not a trained mental health specialist, I am an advocate. And the reason that I'm an advocate and my why for doing this is because um, I have some loved ones that I've talked about before that are at war with depression, one of which is my special guest tonight. So my husband, Reverend Dr. Wayne Weathers, is joining us tonight. And I'm very excited about this discussion that we're going to have because we have been on a lot of different platforms together, talking about mental health, talking about mental health and clergy, mental health and marriage and family. I have two daughters who also are at war with depression, and my family they are the loves of my life. And because I want to advocate on their behalf, and because I want to make sure that I have the tools that I need to be with them, to be a good loved one, to be a good caregiver, to make sure that we are together and work and helping each other through this thing called life. I like to advocate on behalf of all people who might be at war with depression. And so tonight, as my husband and I have, as I said before, we've talked about this topic a lot on a lot of different platforms, and we often just talk about the issue at hand. So we talk about depression, and we talk about uh, his depression and how he's kind of coped with it. But what we want to do tonight is just a little bit different. We want to focus on some self-defense mechanisms. And he actually came to me with this idea, which I thought was a wonderful thing, because so often we talk a lot about the problem, and people who might be at war with depression or at war with other types of mental health challenges might talk a lot about the challenge itself. Sometimes we don't always get to how do they get through the challenge, right? And so I'm very excited that he is here with me tonight. He is Reverend Dr. Wayne Weathers. He is the pastor of the Vision of Hope Baptist Church located in Jenkintown, Pennsylvania. He is the moderator of the Pennsylvania Eastern Keystone Baptist Association for about the next, month and a half?
That's right. That's right.
He is second vice president and political action chair of the Black Clergy of Philadelphia and Vicinity. He has worked on the Biden campaign. He's done a lot of wonderful things. But the best thing he did, besides accept Jesus as the Savior, was to marry me.
Yes, I did.
So, so we're gonna talk a little bit tonight. And if you want to say, Wayne, if you want to say anything else about yourself, feel free to do so. But before we get into the meat of the topic for tonight, I want you to just talk a little bit about, first of all, what do you mean when you say you're at war with depression? I remember saying that you struggle with depression, and saying things like you battle with depression, and you wanted to change that language. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and thanks, babe, for giving me this opportunity to continue this conversation in regards to mental health. Real proud of you in regards to Mental Health Monday. And I'm not saying that because, I'm your husband and you're my wife, and I'm really proud of you for
Thank you.
being bold enough just to step out on faith and implement the vision God has given you, and also to help others educate, inform, and inspire those who are maybe not on the same road that I'm in, but how can I say, dealing with the same challenges, if that makes any sense. So when I use the word at war, sometimes in my journey, and my journey is different than the journey of others, but in this journey of life, what I've learned is that we tend to use words that empower that doesn't deserve to have any power.
Mm,
And so what I mean by that is, for me to say I struggle with depression, I firmly believe that I'm giving struggle more power than it deserves.
mm,
It doesn't deny that I have challenges with depression, but I'm at a stage in my life which I wish I would have incorporated this type of mindset maybe 20, 30 years ago, that instead of giving, I want to disenfranchise words that doesn't deserve to have the power that I give it, or I want to disengage the fuel that I provide to words that give movement. So when I say I'm at war with depression, I'm at conflict with depression. I am in armed one-on-one mental combat with
mm,
depression. I'm fighting it daily. Even on good days, I'm fighting it. So for me to say that I struggle with it, then it's a battle in my mind that I'm allowing depression to gain victory,
mm,
that it's a struggle. Like, this opponent has more power over me than the power God has given me, or the power that I've been equipped with through therapists to engage in this combat to restore and retain my mental health, if that makes any sense.
mhm, mhm.
So
So,
that's why I choose the word war, at war with
okay.
depression.
Right, because if you're at war with something, that means you're standing toe to you in hand to hand combat. You're
Mhm.
fighting back. You're not just sort of struggling, letting it overtake you, but you are actually standing toe to toe and doing what you have to do to fight through it. Is that
And yes, and there, and you've been on this journey with me through the smooth road and the rocky road. There was a time that I allowed depression to have more power, that I would not engage in battle with it.
Mhm,
I tried to find methodologies or methods of escape. And the more I tried to escape it, the more I kept getting hit with, using street term vernaculars. Well, this old street term vernacular, I don't know what they're using now, but I kept getting sucker punched. You know what I
mm,
mean? And
yeah.
there comes a point where you get sucker punched and you just get tired of getting sucker punched, or the way I wanted to swing back wasn't effective in regards to this combat that I was having with depression. And so, through therapy and things like that, and on this, life journey again, I've just learned that we tend to give words power that it doesn't deserve to have. So I had to learn how to disempower, because the Bible says, as a man think, or as a person thinks, so is he. And I'll add, so is she. And
Mhm.
so if I think I struggle, then I'm going to struggle. But if I think I'm at war, or if I claim that I'm at war, then that says I'm willing to engage in this battle in a godly way, so that I can gain the victory that God intended for me to have.
Yeah, so tell us, or well, I know this, but for those that are listening, talk a little bit about how you arrived at a place where you became comfortable with seeing a therapist,
Mhm,
and then two, being open about it. You're a pastor, you're a
mhm,
community leader, and there a lot of time people might be embarrassed to share that they're in therapy, especially as a leader in the church, and especially as a community leader. You might, people might find it hard to admit
mhm.
publicly that they're at war with depression. How did you get to this place?
That's multifaceted. So for a great period of time, I'm not even going to say a long period of time, a great period of time, I was in denial, especially being a follower of Jesus Christ, saved, filled with the Holy Spirit, and the denial predated ministry. So, you know, I've this has been going on for a while, and there is history within my family, on both sides. And I say that reluctantly because I don't want to put the blame of depression on family per se, but there is one particular person who many family members said that I remind myself of, who was a great inspiration in my life, who died suddenly. And so when he passed away, it was my uncle Edward. When he passed away, it had a tremendous effect on me because I knew I was called into the ministry. He was in ministry. He had, I won't say, he was dealing with some things that, I'm just going to put it out there, we believe set up by the government. That's a whole nother subject. So I'm not dancing around the issue. Belief set up by the government. And with that, it had a tremendous effect on his life and everything. There's a narrative with that I'm just not going to share with the public. And so, but when you're told growing up, you have a mouth like your uncle, because we're very outspoken. We look quiet, but we're very outspoken. He was the first of my grandmother's children to go to college and graduate. I was the first of my grandmother's grandchildren on my dad's side to go to college and graduate. He was called into ministry. I was called into ministry. He was an activist. I'm an activist. You got me. And then when he died, it was like when I saw that casket go in the ground, I'm like, I saw myself, if that makes any sense. So I'm now in complete denial at this point. Fast forward, we get married. It was a blessed time and everything. But at the time we got married, the unthinkable happened. I lost my job. The contract expired. So the image of me getting married, especially to you, now that image is cracked and broken because I envision white picket fence, good job, nice savings, great income, everything. And in the process of getting married, boom, we lost the contract. I'm unemployed. Now I feel less than because I'm now marrying the love of my life and don't have income. So I'm dealing with that. And my value and my identity was not centered in Jesus. It was centered in the company that I was working for. Mm-hmm. So now you top all of that, mm-hmm. going into this great iceberg of denial now, because now I feel less than the standards of a man that's set by Western civilization. And now I'm feeling I'm not the husband to my wife that I'm supposed to be because I'm not bringing in the bacon, the bread. Heck, I ain't even bringing in tasty cakes and Little Debbie snack cakes. I'm not bringing any of that in. And so you can pile all of that on with other pre-existing things. And so I'm in a great state of denial. Fast forward, first church I pastored, challenging, dealing with challenges in the second church. And then, I basically gave someone a verbal tongue lashing at a meeting that the person didn't deserve it. And, didn't cuss or anything like that. But what I later learned was suppressed emotions. But at that point, I went into a hole that I couldn't pray myself out of. And I want to get real with you. I wasn't really trying to pray myself out of it. I was trying to use prayer as an excuse not to confront what I've been running away from, what I was running away from. Mm-hmm. So it was at that point when I went and got therapy and then felt less than a servant of God, because getting therapy through the stereotypes that's placed on people of faith at that time, getting therapy was an indication that I didn't have faith in God, which is a lie, but that's the mental stereotypes that is how can you say, those are the mental descriptions that at that time when therapy wasn't embraced, especially African American community, in our community, that was ascribed to us. And then I'm dealing with, oh God, my uncle had his mental challenges after being set up by the government. Well, we believe to be set up by the government. Am I going to turn out like him? And am I going to die like him? You know, am I going to suffer
Yeah.
the same death like him? And so you got all of that going on. And then it's like, because it appeared that telling people that I had depression and I had therapy, it came across that I would be even further condemned. So for a few years, I chose not to say anything until I was having lunch with a good friend, a brother in Christ, name I'm not going to mention. He probably wouldn't mind me saying it, but I don't have his permission. So I'm not going to mention his name. And we're still close to this day. And I thanked him for it as well. But I never forget, as I'm spilling out my challenges in life, especially in ministry, we're sitting at the table. And it's funny now, it wasn't funny then. We're sitting at the table and it was like this big gasp came out. And I was like, man, I got a therapist. And I was expecting vitriol. And he looked at me. I got a therapist too. And I'm like, dude, the size of your congregation and your ministry successful. My ministry that God gave me is not as successful as yours. You're known throughout the city of Philadelphia, et cetera, et cetera. And you got a therapist. And I'm like, all this is going through my head. And I'm like, dude, you got a therapist? And then his exact words to me was, Wayne, from all the stuff that we go through, we would go crazy if we didn't have a therapist. And that gave me the green light to start sharing my testimony that it's okay for pastors and clergy to have a therapist. And I've been on that crusade since 2010.
Yeah, I've been on it with you.
Yes, you have.
And we have a question from Monique, who is watching on Instagram.
Mhm.
And she says, how do you help someone fight that you know is depressed, but does not have the exact words?
How do you help
Well,
someone fight that you know is depressed? So let me think on that for just 5 seconds. So the first thing you have to understand is you can't assist anyone to fight if they choose not to. He or she has to be willing to fight. The next thing is sometimes you're helping in the battle and don't even know that you're helping. Sometimes it's not words that's needed. It's just your presence. Or it's just that shoulder to lean on, or it's just that hug in the midst of the pressure. Then there is the encouragement, or just to say, it appears you're going through something, even though you're at a point where you don't want to talk about it. Whenever you want to talk about it, just know that I'm here. Or there are times you can say, you know what? And I've done this as a pastor, as a friend, as a spouse. There are times where I've just said, and it was done to me because maybe you did it as well. I'm just going to sit here with you. You don't have to say anything. I'm just going to sit right beside you and I'm just going to sit here. And then there are times where, there are times that I try to avoid because I didn't want the dirty bucket of water of depression that I'm carrying. I didn't want it to spill out everywhere. And there were times, babe, you just said, come here, you just need a hug. So I hope that answers the question and everything. There is no like ABC to it, but I would say to answer the question again, how do you help someone fight that you know is depressed but does not have the exact words? Sometimes your presence is more powerful than words.
yeah, Monique. And what I can say as well is that I was I was always just a listening ear
Yes.
and just available to be a listening ear. But it did get to a point where I had to say, babe, I don't have it in me anymore. Um, I don't have what you need. You need to discuss some of these things with someone who is a
Hmm.
licensed therapist who can help you navigate the pain and the trauma that you've experienced. Now, was it accepted immediately? It was not.
No.
Um, you know, I didn't the way that I suggested it wasn't like you need to go see a therapist. It wasn't like
Right.
you need to stop. I can't take this anymore. It wasn't like
Mhm.
that. But it was just being honest with him that I didn't feel like I had what he really needed in terms of the level of training that was needed for him to really kind of get through the things that he was going through. But I
Mhm.
knew that he needed more than just me. I knew that he needed at a certain point there was but so much just my listening was going to be able to really help. He needed
Mhm.
something more, and I was willing to share that with him. And I don't know what your, if you are part of a faith tradition, uh, because not everybody that follows necessarily is. But for me, I did a lot of praying about it, and a lot of those prayers I really, it took a few years to actually see the progression. And so even if your loved one goes and gets the help, don't expect it to sort of just go to one therapy session and then they're all right. It is a process, and it is a growth process, and it requires a lot of love and just in patience.
Mhm.
And it also requires a lot of um what is the word I'm looking for, just letting them express themselves and validating what they're going through, not sort of saying, when are you going to get over this?
Right.
No, but recognizing that even if it doesn't seem like a huge deal to you, it is to them, and it should be treated that way.
If I
And so, go ahead.
Yeah, if I can add just one other word, you know, space,
Yes.
space. The one thing that helped me in this process was you giving me space and you taking space, because sometimes you can be the caregiver and get drained giving care. And so you allowing me to have space, and with me understanding you need space. And I had to grow to know that you needed space, if that makes any sense. When it says denial, let me just say that I denied because of the challenges I saw my uncle encounter, which is totally different. His developed into paranoid schizophrenia, and I say this, I'm proud of my uncle. He inspired many of us. I would not have aspired a college education. you know I get a little teary-eyed talking about him. I still have the books he gave me, you know for Christmas. The last book he gave me for Christmas before he passed away, I didn't know it was a commentary on Paul. I was trying to read it when I first went to Baltimore. I was like, "What? This book is kind of boring." But now it's helpful that responding to the call to ministry, etc. It was a commentary on Paul. and he wrote it. And that's like my last piece of writing I gotten from my uncle. So I don't want to give an image that I'm villainizing him or anything like that. He was an inspiration, and I'm proud to say that that was my uncle. And I'll beyond a shadow of a doubt. And I'm still proud to say that's my uncle. But because of his death, and at that time, I couldn't separate his journey is different from my journey. You got me. His journey was definitely different from my journey. So those are the things I just wanted to share. But thank you for the question. And I pray that the answer helped.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you for the question, Monique. And if you, I don't know if you're new to Mind the Mental on Mondays, but if you want to go and check out some of the earlier ones, um, I really do sort of speak from the perspective of caregivers of people with depression. And I do talk a lot about the need to make sure that as you're supporting your loved one in their mental health journey, that you also protect yours. So
Mhm.
so go back and check out some of those as well. You can check it out on either on Facebook Live or either on my Facebook page or
Mhm.
on my YouTube channel. All
Hey,
right.
babe. Hey,
Yes.
babe, there's something on that I wanted to address. There's something on the Instagram. It says, I go to Jones Memorial.
Okay.
Peace and blessings to Pastor
Oh,
Paul Lee. Yeah, love Paul Lee. Love Paul Lee to life. Reverend Pastor
yes.
Paul Lee to life. Yes, Pastor Paul Lee is family to us, so he's not just Pastor Paul Lee. But it
Yeah,
goes on to say,
absolutely.
thank you. This helps a lot. It was also a death that affected my family member. And while the death impacted me, it seemed to take them into a dark place. I want to share can I just share?
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, I empathize about the dark place
Yeah.
because when my mother passed away, and then a few months later, my mother in love passed away, I went into a dark place. And I can remember when my mom passed away, uh, I was sitting in Benita's chair. That's a whole nother trauma I gotta get. That's a whole nother trauma I gotta get. I gotta get therapy on. Matter of fact, I'm gonna call my therapist now. For those who don't know, I'm getting serious, but I do have to say there's a chair in this house nobody can sit in but Reverend Benita L. Weathers.
It's my
Nobody can
chair.
sit in it. Yeah, nobody can sit in this reclining chair but Reverend Benita L. Weathers. But let me go to the back to the dark place. So, but I do remember I went into that dark place. And this is where when I requested to my wife to be on Mind the Mental, this is where the self-defense come in. I went into the dark place and I was sinking, and I see it like it was yesterday. I literally felt myself going down. And there's power in words, because as I felt myself going to that dark space, sinking in that dark place, knowing I'm at war with depression, I literally said, I can't go here. I got to come out of this. I didn't say I'm going to stop grieving, but where I was going, I knew it was going to mentally destroy me. And that's one methodology of self-defense that I've learned how to incorporate in this battle and war, well, in this war with depression. Words have power. And when I said to myself, using God's words or God's power through words, I I can't come here. I got to come out of this. Those words alone in that dark space, in that dark place, gave me the tenacity to say, you can grieve, but you don't have to sink down into this grief. And that's when I didn't stop crying. I didn't stop grieving, but I was determined, you're not going to take me down here. We're going to fight. That's the bottom line. We're going to fight. I'm going to take a couple blows. I'm going to take a couple of, headshots and everything, but I'm coming out of this because you're not taking me down there. I fought too long and I've made
Yeah.
too many strides to go down this hole again.
That's great, because the power, life and death lies in the power of the tongue. And what you say to yourself about yourself, how you talk to yourself about yourself or about your situation really does matter. And so thank you for sharing that, how you
Mhm,
were able to uh, lift up out of that, and not just how you were able to, but that you were determined to, because
mhm,
I think that's the other piece of it. Everybody knows my favorite word, intentional. The intentionality behind it also is what helps to bring you up out of a situation like that. You
mhm,
have to be determined that I might be in this place right now. I am not going to stay here. I
mhm,
am coming up out of this. And so thank you for sharing that. We have another question
mhm.
that says, did you lose friendships when people learned you were seeing a therapist?
That's a great question. I lost mindsets.
Ooh, ooh, say that again.
I lost mindsets. That's what I lost. And let me explain what I mean by that. I'm not avoiding answer the question. I don't have many friends by choice. I have a lot of acquaintances, but I don't have a lot of friends because I'm very guarded. But the friends that I have, I didn't lose, but I lost mindsets
Mhm.
and I'm still losing it. So let me explain what I mean by that. And that's the area of self defense. So Reverend Weathers, Benita, when we went away on our anniversary, and what I'm getting ready to say, I'm setting the stage with this, what I incorporated, I was doing before this person made this statement. But when we were sitting around the bread and breakfast table, and that great bed and breakfast African American owned in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, you can say the name, I forgot the name, when we were getting to know each other and we were sharing narrative professions, and it came out I had a therapist and there were therapists at the table. There was one person, she was young, look, I think she was in her 30s if I'm not mistaken. She says one thing in therapy that people have to understand is that, or in her experience, she has to get people to unlearn a narrative that was told to them in their childhood.
Mhm.
And I start with that story in 2023 and go back to when I started getting therapy in 2007. I lost mindsets because I had to go back and unravel narratives that was said to me or I took in as a kid that affected me as an adult. So there's a time where my mindset
Yeah.
of negativity had a lot of power. There was a time when the mindset of worry had a lot of power. There was a time where a mindset of low self esteem and low value of myself had power. When I started getting therapy, another self defense mechanism, I had to go and unlearn the narratives that were said to me as a kid from kids and adults to a point where I had to lose the mindset and start incorporating a different mindset, which has been a journey. It didn't happen overnight. So I started to lose mindsets and I started to lose a reason to fight things that I didn't have to fight.
Mm.
Yeah, because I found myself fighting bullies today that I didn't fight yesterday, or wanting to physically fight folks who look like bullies today because they represent bullies that I let torment me yesterday. And I'm not saying that in a grandiose way or anything like that. What I am saying is I did not lose friendship, but I lost mindsets intentionally.
That's good. That's good. What would you say if you had lost friendships? Like so I think that, if somebody decides that they no longer want to be your friend because you're taking a step
Mhm.
to better yourself and to enhance your life, you have to question whether or not that person is really a friend.
Yes, yes. I think, wow. A couple of things that come to mind. Now, I have lost friends when God was elevating me. We had that talk pre-therapy, and I remember you saying to me that there's only certain people in your life for a season.
Yep.
I've also incorporated elevation brings isolation.
Mhm.
So the more God elevates you, the more he removes. But I need to say that if a person stopped being your friend because you are engaging in therapy, that says less about you and more about them. So what that
Facts.
says to me, and God forgive me if I'm wrong, what that says to me is they love you in your broken state.
Mhm.
They don't care about you in your fixed state. So they rather see you mentally broken, because in your mentally broken state, it says you need them. In your mentally fixed state, it says I can be independent with you or without you. If somebody rather be your friend in your broken state and not your fixed state, then that says that they are profiting mentally and spiritually from your brokenness instead of your blessed fixed state.
Mm. Wow. That's powerful.
Mhm.
That is powerful. And so the moral of the story is don't let somebody profit off your brokenness.
That's right. Mhm.
If they're really a friend, a real friend, somebody who really cares about you, somebody who really loves you, wants to see you better. They want to see you live out the be the best version of you that you can be. Are you about to say something?
Yes. So to go back to what the question that the person said, because I just had this epiphany. Did you lose friendships when people learned you were seeing a therapist? I would say I got revelations. And let me explain what I mean by that. They didn't kick me out, but I removed myself from them,
Mhm.
because even in my pastoral state, there were those who I thought was friends, but they would only tolerate me on their basis or their terms.
Mm.
And when I started to see that they were only tolerating me on their basis in their terms, non-verbally, what I said was, I will put you in a position where you don't have to tolerate me at all. And I removed myself. And no regrets.
Yeah.
I have so much value in myself that I'm not going to let somebody determine what season they will tolerate me and what season they will dispose of me. So that's what therapy helped me come to the conclusion, to remove myself from situations where people think that they can tolerate me, but I'm just like, I will never put you in a position where you would have to decide on what day you would tolerate me. I will put myself in a position and do you a favor where you don't have to tolerate me at all. And I'm not just speaking about friends. I've also had to do that with certain family members. Not my brother. My brother's my second father. You got me? But there are cousins that I've had to distance myself from because, they only wanted to tolerate me on their terms.
Well, that's kind of a mic drop moment right there.
Mhm.
um, and that can be hard.
Yes.
It can be hard because there are relationships that you've nurtured over the years, and when you find out that that the relationship really was lopsided, um
Mhm.
because you're putting in more in the relationship than the other person. It can be really hard, but there are times that for your own mental health, you have to cut some folk loose.
Mhm.
as
definitely.
hard as it might be.
Hmm. And,
Um,
and one thing I'll share with you is that there's some things I wanted to just share with your audience that I've learned to incorporate. And on this journey, I just didn't always want to share my journey with depression and getting therapy. I also wanted to extend that to share what mechanisms or methodologies that I started to incorporate to build myself up. And if I could just briefly, babe, I hope I'm not dominating your
no, no,
podcast.
no, no. This is what we want. I
Yeah.
want you to talk about it.
So there were times in my life I would shrink, you know, I would shrink because I didn't value what I was bringing to the table. And then there were times where I've allowed people to devalue me, try to play down my credentials and my experiences, like what I've done really doesn't mean anything. And then there are times where I walk in situations, even as, the titles that God has blessed me with, whether it's vice president, whether I was third vice president in Black clergy, now second vice president, political affairs committee chair, moderator of our Baptist Association, political action chair of state convention. There's many hats with one head that I wear, but there were those who would intentionally go out of their way to demonstrate you don't matter. You're not one of us. You got me? And the size of your congregation is only this size. We'll magnify somebody this size. So all of that kind of tied into a narrative growing up. You're not good enough. So Lil Wayne, not the rapper that is, but Lil Wayne, right, is still beaten and bruised, living in Reverend Dr. Wayne and Weather's body. So now I had to go back and heal the young boy so that the man could walk in the authority God has provided. So there was this book. Oh man, I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me. My Kindle is upstairs. It was this book, 365 Days of Affirmation or something like that. And I got it off of Amazon. And I'm like, again, and I'm gonna talk about this mindset I had. I don't know if this is going to work. As my therapist has taught me, my new therapist, stop going to your negative playbook. I'll talk about that in a few. And so there was these affirmations, how to build yourself up. And it says each morning you get up and repeat these affirmations 5, 7 times. Then go into meditation. And when you meditate, you're not meditating on those words, but you're doing mental and spiritual introspection. And if there's something that you can discern inside a dark space, breathe, inhale, exhale 7 times, right? And basically the transformation or the victory over that particular dark space would occur. If that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. So I went in hesitant, and then I started to repeat those affirmations. Now, I'm not going to say it's like I wasn't like Tina Turner and what's love got to do with it. But there were certain affirmations like I'm gifted and I'm talented. I value what I bring to the table. Every day I wake up, my goal is to shine. Those are some of the quotes. I may not have it verbatim, so on and so forth. And when I started repeating that, what I've learned is my self-defense, one of my self-defense mechanisms with dealing with depression is to start speaking positive about myself and not live the narrative what people think about me or say about me. So now when I walk in rooms, I really don't care what you think about me. And I don't say that arrogantly. Matter of fact, when I walk into rooms now, I walk in with the persona, I'm here. I'm here. And it took a while to get there. You got me? I am here. And so when I walk into rooms now, and I know that there are those who are intentionally trying to minimize me, I maximize. Now, what I used to do is, oh, you're going to act like I'm not here? I'm going to get in your face and show you that I'm here. I don't have to get in your face to show you that I'm here. I'm just going to shine.
Period.
That's all. Yeah, I'm just going to shine. I'm not going to let you minimize me because of the idiot. If my presence positioned you to try to reduce me, that says my presence does something spiritually internally inside of you that creates an insecurity that you have about me, that you have to feel a need to lower me to lift yourself up. God never made me your doormat, your doormat or your doorstep, and I'm not going to allow that. Even when you
Amen.
try, I'm not going to confront you like before. I would be like in your grill, yo, what's your problem, etc. I went from timid, right, tuck and run to something that happened in college that I just boom. I go from 0 to 1,000. I'm not that type of person. I'm just like, no, I'm not going to get in your grill like, yo, what's your problem? Is there an issue? Do we need to talk about this, etc.? No, I'm just going to shine. So I had to start speaking positivity about myself. If I could talk about the meditation, in regards to meditation, I might be a little bit off center. My phone is going about 5%. The meditation part, when I'm inhaling and exhaling, now I'm not consistent with the meditation like I should. And that's something I'm working on. There's no excuse for it. But I tell you what, that meditative practice, it really worked. I learned how to meditate through Reverend Bishop Heber and Brown at Shiloh Baptist Church, Edgemere, Spiritual Disciplines, Richard J. Foster. And so what this book taught me,
a great book.
Yes, what this new book taught me about affirmation was really just building up on what Pastor Brown was teaching as well back in the 90s. But that inhale, there's times like I've been meditating and I'm hearing the Lord speak to me, that's your fear. And when I'm inhaling and exhaling, it doesn't at the time remove it, but it teaches me how to elevate above the fear, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So those are self-defense mechanisms, and I'll stop there in case anybody else have any questions or comments.
Yeah, one of the things that I've noticed is because you're talking about, how you talk to yourself. And one of the things that I have noticed lately that you have been doing is talking to yourself. So, for example, when we're out, we're out in the car and we're out and about, and that road rage be just about ready to hit, and then you'll say, okay,
Yeah.
calm down. Like it's not, and now that didn't used to be him. A little while back, I used to always have to get on him. Like,
it's not worth it.
It's not worth it. These
Those are
people
your
out
famous
here,
words.
these people out here carrying guns and stuff, and shooting people because you cut them off or because whatever. Like, it's not worth it. It's not worth your life. So just take a deep breath and just and to see that come to fruition now, to see him actually do that, is really a sight, babe. I have to say, I'm very proud of you. I have to say that I'm proud of you've come a long way.
So if I could share, that's another self-defense mechanism. Let me share with you fasting. Yeah, fasting. So again, learning from Reverend Dr. Heber and Brown, Shiloh Baptist Church, Edgemere, Celebration of Discipline, Richard J. Foster. We were taught, God, this was like 1990 to be exact, how to turn the plate down. And so God has been saying to me for almost a year, go on a fast. And because I was doing, before I got injured, I'm lifting weights, I'm praying in the morning, I'm reading scripture, then I'm running to the gym, right? So I'm lifting weights. Then the summertime comes. In addition to lifting, then I go on my 4 or 5 mile meditation walk. And then after the 4 or 5 mile meditation walk, in the evening, I'm at Tiger Schumann's martial arts, studying mixed martial arts. So it's praying, scripture in the morning, gym, walking, martial arts. God is saying, fast. And I'm saying to God, can you imagine? But if I break this cycle, I'm not going to return and I'll miss the discipline. So then I tore my right calf muscle, working out, doing martial art, everything stopped. I almost drove you crazy because I wouldn't sit down for nothing. But that's a whole other. And so I'm laying in bed and I'm saying, God, I hear God's voice, time to go on a fast. And I kept finding every excuse why. And I just said, okay, God, I'm gonna go on a fast. And it was on that fast again, I learned to journal what was occurring, et cetera, my frustrations, my certain insecurities, et cetera. And when I came out of that fast, God spoke to me and placed a calm spirit inside of me to say, teaching me how to stay calm in situations. So now, when someone does 500 miles per hour to get in front of me and then go 2 miles an hour when they get in front of me, I don't blow up. Before I'm busting a head gasket.
Yeah. It's still an
It's
annoyance, but you're able to stay calm through the annoyance.
Well, somebody in the fast lane, and it's the fast lane, and they're not even doing 55 miles an hour in the fast lane. They're on cruise control and they won't get out the way. Instead of me just getting annoyed, it's just like, yo, man, it's not worth it. And that's the old nature. And I
Yes.
don't need to function in the old nature. So that's what the war is. It's a war between flesh and blood. It's a war between the old self and the new self. If I could say this, baby, I really wanted this to come out. You and I, we had subsequent conversations about this.
Mhm.
I think one of the best mechanisms of self-defense with the war with depression is learning to remove not trying to be and just learn how to be.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And so
Talk about that some more. Yeah.
So in this journey in life, there was the phase where I dealt with, as my younger life, not that I'm old, but I am older. People said what I wouldn't become. And so I had to fight that battle, that I had to prove to you that I'm not going to be who you said I was going to be. And so then I had to switch now as I started to accomplish certain things in life, especially the economy. I'm not economy, through my academics and pastoring and things like that. Graduating from Duke University Divinity School. Well, first of all, graduating from Virginia State University. If I didn't graduate from Virginia State University, I wouldn't have the opportunity to get into Duke University Divinity School. Graduate from Duke University Divinity School, then get my doctor's in ministry degree from Lutheran Theological Seminary, which is now United Lutheran Theological Seminary. There's a lot of accolades before the presidential campaign, from interning in Hawaii as an undergrad, learning how to be a community organizer at Duke University Divinity School, meeting Reverend Dr. William Barber before William Barber blew up to who he is today, meeting Jim Wallace before Jim Wallace blew up who he came to be today. He's the one who founded the Sojourner magazine. Walking the hallways with Shirley Caesar. Her first semester was my last semester at Duke University Divinity School. Walked the hallways with Mike Waldron and Jamal Bryant. We were, although Jamal acts like he don't know me now, but walking the hallways with Jamal Bryant and things like that. Some heavy hitters, and you're a heavy hitter. But then you leave Duke, and then there's this stereotype about those who graduated from, various schools, stuck up Ivy League school, et cetera. So you're trying not to be. And then you see the wannabes. I need to talk about that. You see the wannabes who want to be something, but their insecurity tell them that they're not something. And so they walk around with their nose stuck up in the air and they think they're better than everybody else. And you look at them and say, in ministry, I'm not trying to be like them. And so what happens is you're reducing yourself based on images that others have portrayed, but don't have anything to do with you. And so now I've come to learn, now I've spent a good portion of my life trying not to be, realizing that I just got to be. Let
Yes.
me be who God called me to be. And so then there's this mental war between low self-esteem and walking in confidence. And let me explain what I mean by that. So I dealt with low self-esteem for a while, for a good portion of my life, then elevated above low self-esteem, but then looking at others and the false sense of confidence that they had, I started to develop this mindset, I don't want to be like them. So then being confident made me think that I was being better. And so I wouldn't walk in confidence because I
Being
wasn't trying to
arrogant.
arrogant. That's right. I
Mhm.
made me think that I'm being arrogant until the Lord spoke to me one day, and I remember it like it was yesterday. And he said to me, being arrogant makes you think you're better than somebody. But being confident means you don't believe that somebody is better than you. No, being confident means you believe in yourself and won't allow you to think that there's anybody better than you.
Mhm.
And once I got that voice, like, yeah, um, I will believe in myself. Even if nobody else believes in me, I know that I'm gifted and talented, that I got to believe in myself. That's when I started to go even more deeper into this arm to arm combat, because when the old narrative comes and says I'm not,
Mhm.
you know, the narrative that God gave me, and says I am, because I believe in myself. Anyone is in Christ is a new creature. Old things have passed away.
Passed away.
Behold, old things, excuse me,
Mhm.
behold, all
Mhm.
things have become new. There was this mindset that wouldn't let me walk in the newness because I'm still fighting the old.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's so powerful, because I know that you are not the only one
right.
who has faced that. And I think that many of us, um, whether we are at war with depression or at war with anything else, we go through life trying so hard not to be X, Y, and Z,
Mm-hmm.
so much so that we don't focus on the being.
Mm-hmm.
We don't focus on who we are purposed to be. And
Mm-hmm.
I thank you for bringing that out, because I just think that that is so powerful, that when you recognize who you are
Mm-hmm.
and you stand in who you are and you stand in who God has purposed you to be, then you are able to move forward in that, not worry about what you're not being, because you're
Mm-hmm.
too focused on who you are.
Yeah.
Um, So, and the name of the book, someone wanted to, the name of the book is Richard J. Foster. It's a celebration of discipline. It's an excellent book. There are several
Yes.
versions of it at this point, but it's a great book. Yeah, I've read it myself, and there's a lot of there's a lot of good nuggets in there.
Yes.
Um,
From 1990 until now, still is very practical.
yes, absolutely. So, um, I know that because there was a question asked a little bit earlier that sort of dealt with this. What else can you say? Because here on Mind the Mental, we kind of want to focus somewhat on people who are caregivers of people with depression.
Mm-hmm.
What are some other ways that you feel like caregivers can help their loved ones who are at war with depression? What are some tools you think that you can offer them?
So people who are depressed, they don't choose to be depressed. It is a mental ailment. And when providing care, understand that you are limited in the care that you can provide. And it doesn't make you a bad person if the care that the person needs stretches past the boundaries of the skills that you are bringing to the table. There's not much. Don't don't beat yourself up about it. The second thing is understand that even though you are providing care, you also have to provide care for yourself. You will not be good to the person with whom you're providing care for if you allow yourself to run yourself into the hole, or if you burn out trying to pull somebody out of a depressed state and you're going down a rabbit hole yourself. I think the other thing is love them, provide the comfort, but provide the space, and also create barriers as well, because you have to maintain your mental health as well. And so when I mean provide barriers, there are times like, my wife, she would say, I just need some time to myself. It wasn't like, as you're like, here you go with that depression again. I just need to get away. No, I'm not saying it. No, but you would literally say, I don't have much to give right now. I need some time to myself. And when I say much to give, she would come home. I need her. The kids need her. Everybody need her. She can't even put the pocketbook down. Can't take off her shoes. Can't even go upstairs. We all coming at her at the door. Everybody's in need. And that's when, so I want to just to make clear, I just want to clarify. If she says, "Ooh, she told him I don't have to give." No, it's just, she's coming home from a long day of work. She need to retool, she need to, as Debbie Allen was saying, the different word, relax, relate, release, and though we laugh about it, that's true. Relax, relate, release. And we're all bombarding her as well. And so those are some of the practical things that I would say. You can't pull a person out of depression. You can assist, you can guide them, but you can't pull them out unless they get the training, unless they get the treatment to help pull them out, and that's through therapy.
Amen. That's really good. I always use the example of, you have to put that oxygen mask on first before you can put it on somebody else. And so it's imperative for those that are caregivers of people with depression to make sure you take care of your own mental health, because when you love someone, when they're depressed, you're going to get depressed too. Like, it's going to bring you down because you love them. You don't want to see them in that condition, and it impacts you. But sometimes you have to, in the space that he's talking about, is take that space and allow yourself, give yourself grace when you're in a space where you just can't handle more in that moment, and it's okay. Go and retool and get yourself together, and then maybe return and be that listening ear. So we are a little over time, but it's all good because this has been a great conversation, babe. Thank you so much for coming on and for all the nuggets that you provided here tonight.
Yeah, but I do have to say, I love you because the Eagles is playing today, and I sacrifice watching God's favorite team, because I know you're a Ravens fan. But God's favorite team to be on this interview with you. And I'm about ready to go get therapy because my mental is kind of messed up right now. Wow.
Yeah, I definitely take precedence over that.
Yes,
that other bird.
Let me say, I appreciate all that you've done, all that you continue to do. Love you beyond words can describe, and that's not fakeness. That's real.
Likewise.
Thank you for the score. I was always, what I've learned is, And just in closing, I used to feel really bad that I'm married and I have depression because I'm supposed to be the prince to protect my princess, or the king to protect my queen. And yet I got flaws. And the animated image of perfection is a lie. There's only one perfect person. And in this life journey as a pastor, and on this life journey through therapy, I'm realizing all of us are dealing with something. And all of us have dealt with, well, I won't say all of us, let's say a good portion of us have dealt with some traumatic experiences in life. And with those traumatic experiences, things of that nature, we all have flaws. And I thank you for loving me with the flaws, the flaws of depression, where others probably would have threw up their hands and said, did more than make you want to holler, throw up in your hands, would have make you want to holler, put on your boots and walk. You hung in there and you never got to a point that says, I've had enough, so thank you for that.
Well, listen, it goes both ways. I have flaws too. I'm certainly not perfect. And so we just have accepted each other's flaws for going on 29 years.
Hey, you're a Ravens fan. Of course you got flaws.
See,
This is what she has to deal with for 29 years, 28 years of matrimony, 29 years.
I got some folk out there that's following that other bird too. So I'm gonna leave y'all alone tonight.
Yeah.
But
no.
Again, just thank you for your authenticity and just for your willingness to be transparent and to share. Mind the Mental Monday, every Monday, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, right here on Facebook Live, Instagram Live. You can catch the replay on my YouTube channel at Benita Weathers 329. And upcoming events, November 4th, from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am going to be reintroducing my book, The Scream Within: Mental Health and Clergy Marriages, Journey of a Pastor's Spouse, which talks from my perspective about many of the things that we talked about here tonight and a little bit more. So I hope that you all can join us. It's a free virtual event. We will get the save the date is already out there circulating, and we will, when it gets closer to the event, we'll put out the information for the virtual information so that you can join in. But I hope that you all will be there. Please, please, please put in the comments, let us know that, that this information that is on this Mind the Mental Live is helpful. Let us know if there are things that you want discussed, if there are topics that you're interested in having discussed. I have done several of the topics that I've done have been because people put it in the comments that that's what they wanted talked about. And so I definitely do check those comments. My team checks them and we make sure that we get, that we do something on that information. And, I want to grow this community. So please share this with your networks. Please also, give us some stars if you're so inclined, and just let me know. Just let us know how we're doing and how this information might be helpful to you. All right. So thank you. I will see you right back here next Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a wonderful and blessed week. Take care.
Bless you. Love you, babe.
Good night. Love you, babe. See ya.